great session lined up for you now. Really excited about this one. It's called Work Your Ads Off. I won't take credit for the title, so as owner operators, trying to make every pound, every dollar, every euro count, digital marketing is so important to the success of our businesses. And now in our new reality, digital is fast becoming, if it quite frankly hasn't already, the number one area that operators need to focus their attention on to ensure that they're not just getting ahead of the competition, but simply actually, in many cases, just to survive and stay operating and keeping the lights on. So really delighted today that we've assembled a superb panel to talk through some key areas of digital marketing, give you some tips and tricks from things like Google My Business to Facebook ads to your website to other stuff. The panel's incredibly experienced, and these guys are actually really at the coalface when it comes to helping companies market themselves and doing this stuff day in, day out. So delighted they can join us. So I'll just introduce them quickly. First of all, we have Olivia Ruiz, who specialises in the B2B and tech fields. She's currently Head of Marketing and Brand at Booking Kit, the leading European software for tours and activities providers, where her team and Olivia is responsible for lead generation across all core markets. So Olivia, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the intro.
We also have Chris Torres, who is an author, brand and tourism marketing expert with over 26 years industry knowledge and speaks at many tourism events worldwide, offering his advice and guidance on how travel tourism and destination businesses can gain brand recognition and increase their bookings, and is the author of a well-regarded book called Lookers into Bookers. Tom Cratch, welcome, Tom. Tom leads a team of passionate digital marketers for his business, the TRK Creative Group, which is a full-service digital marketing and consulting team focused on 100% on activities, tours, and attractions. So, panel, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate that. I'm sorry to might have kept you waiting for a minute, but we're having a fascinating conversation about insurance. And I think this panel will be far more interesting. I've struggled with kind of where to start on this actually, and I'm trying to ask quite ignorant questions, and luckily that comes quite easily to me. So I guess my first ignorant question is, if I'm a small business right now, what are my top 3 areas to concentrate on in terms of digital marketing? Just very broad question, non-specific to start with. But Chris, let's kick us off if that's okay.
Sure. Well, one of the main platforms I would say to focus on is Facebook, personally. Not even during COVID, all the way through the last 8 months, we've been seeing a lot of good traction on Facebook for a lot of operators. It is one of the best, cheapest, and most targeted platforms out there in terms of marketing. And like I say, we've seen massive amounts of inquiries come in through Facebook for a lot of operators. Now, the thing that's happening just now is there's so many people just looking to travel, wanting to travel, but obviously can't. So the demand is there and it's massively there. And what operators should be doing just now is putting out content, putting out Facebook ads, and just really driving home why someone should be picking their company to take out an experience when they're allowed to. So what we're advising a lot of our operators is to try to attract people to their website or inquire through Facebook. So obviously there's not a lot of bookings happening just now, but it's lots of inquiries are happening, people looking for bespoke quotes and tailor-made tours and that type of thing. And even day tour operators who we work with are saying, look, you may have not offered a tailor-made option up until this point. Get that on your website because people are looking for it. They've got so many questions to ask and that type of thing as well with everything that's going on. And we're seeing a massive uptake in people who are interested. And this would be for bookings later this year, may or may not, but mostly into 2021. And that's what to focus on. Because now with the news of the vaccine and everything else, that's just going to ramp up even more. So you're going to see more bookings happening and more deposits being paid for next year and so on. So Facebook for me is hands down one of the best platforms you can use at the moment.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Olivia, what's your view? If I was a new operator now, what are my top 3 go-tos, or what's my area to focus on?
Yeah, so I would totally agree with Chris. I think obviously Facebook is a great choice, also because these moments in which you are deciding to travel are very, built upon inspiration, and you can, transmit videos and images, and everything's just very, very catered to, you as a person, your demographics, your interests. So definitely Facebook, linked with Instagram, of course, is a great go-to. Mostly, I would say for paid. Organic is also important, but I would say it has less of an impact. It's more of a sanity hygiene factor. However, if you're looking at an area to optimize that's not paid, of course, you have your own website, you have your SEO. And part of that, I think, is how people actually find you. So on Google, one of the easiest things that you can do is take a real hard look at your, first of all, the initial search results that show up when people are searching for, tours in your area or things that you would like to be associated with. And along with that comes with your Google My Business profile. So anything that could end up in the knowledge panel on the side of the search results is going to be very, very important to keep, clean, to keep it on brand, to add photos there, add a lot of content, collect reviews there. These are all things that you can actually do completely for free and also relatively easily. And it's something that's going to really help improve the brand of your business, help separate you or set you apart from your competition, and is something that will really kind of help push your brand forward, even if maybe at the time you don't have a lot of advertising spend.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. And Tom, from your point of view?
Yeah, no problem. And just to add to what Chris said on the Facebook side of things, Facebook's awesome depending on where you're located and what your market is, right? And whether you're operating or not operating. But, if you have a local market, is it a local residents, folks that live in your area that potentially have, the ability to take your tours? Or is it visitors, right? Like are visitors coming into your destination? And what's awesome about Facebook advertising is you can drill down to those levels. You can select these audiences that you want to serve up your ad to. And so from a messaging standpoint, you can tweak your messaging for, locals, residents, people that live there versus people that are traveling in and through that destination. So it's really cool, actually. Facebook, and Chris does an awesome job with Facebook ads in the sense that drilling down to, using that platform of data to reach these audiences and then get them to engage, right? Whether they're clicking through an ad and getting to your website, or whether they're actually engaging with an ad, which becomes social proof, right? So we see a lot of social proof with ads in the sense of people liking, commenting, and then sharing, right? And it's the sharing sometimes where you get huge amounts of shares. They're sharing it with their friends, with their family, going, hey, this is an awesome food tour in Paris, looks as an example, right? This is an awesome food tour. We got to go do this, right? And it could be on a local level. So that, Facebook absolutely, I'll agree with Chris, over the last 5-6 months, even here in North America, we've seen just great impact and a good return on investment running Facebook ads, for clients. The Google ad side of things is the other opportunity, right? And like Olivia said, it's your digital footprint. How are people finding you? Okay. And Google's, the 100-pound gorilla or whatever, but, in search, it's Google, right? So mostly. And, how are people searching for your type of tour, right? And, I'll use that example, food tours in Paris, right? So if people are, if that's a commercial value keyword, what I say with Google ads, it all starts with research. So all of you as owner operators or what have you, just start doing searches for commercial value keywords that are relevant for your business and see who's showing up. Like Olivia said, who's showing up in search, right? And you're typically going to see upwards of 4 ads, a max of 4 ads. It could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3 or 4 ads that are going to fire in that search engine results page. And then you're going to get down to, what's called the maps or the map packs, the 3-pack of businesses. And then eventually you're going to get down to organic listings, right? And then you're going to have the Google My Business listing over on the right side if they're searching for maybe your brand is part of your name. And a lot of times in this industry, your brand can also be a commercial value keyword. Food tours in Paris, Paris culinary tours could be a brand, right? So, could be a company name, right? So, when people are searching in Google. And so today, we see 60, 70, upwards of 80% of all searches happening on a mobile device, okay? They're happening on that iPhone, let's say, okay? And when you're doing those types of searches, looking at it on mobile versus desktop, very different things. You want to be looking at it on mobile, knowing that 60, 70, 80% of your website visitors are coming on a mobile device today. And Google Ads has that opportunity to very quickly get you in the top run of ads. And if you fire a Google ad, right? So if you're running Google Ads and you're bidding on a keyword, let's just say food tours in Paris, okay, somebody's searching that, and your ad's firing correctly, your ad can take up 90% of that screen space on a mobile device in that first ad position. So by the time they get to ad number 2 or ad number 3 or 4, you're scrolling, right? And before they even get to organic, you're scrolling way down on your phone, right? Like you're doing the scroll. And so, running Google Ads allows you very quickly to be in the game and to get into search at the top results and get the click through.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Thanks, guys. We've got loads of great questions that actually already coming into the chat, so I'll try my best to get to those towards the end of the conversation. Just kind of imagining ourselves at the very start, and it might be easy for you guys. You might have to do this all the time, or it might not be. But Chris, if you're, Facebook, you said is of paramount importance to operators looking to grow their business. But how do you start? Without going through the how do you set up a Facebook page, which is relatively simple for most people, but how do you then get the audience? Because do you ask all your friends and family to like your page, or is that a cardinal sin? Because I've read both. And then how do you then get that audience and increase engagement? What are some of the tricks and methods that you might do to get that audience?
Yeah, it's well, if it's for gaining Facebook likes and followers on your page, I'm not a huge fan of trusting an audience on a Facebook page, to be honest. For me, numbers don't matter. I would rather have 200 engaged people on my Facebook group rather than 20,000, for example, or Facebook page rather. I actually find more meaningful engagement from a Facebook group. So you have a Facebook page that anyone can like. Well, no matter who they are, if they come across your page, they can like it. They're not necessarily going to engage with that. But if you actually set up a Facebook group where people will have to join, they may have to fill up some questions at the start to join. The admin then approves them. I always find that you tend to get more engagement that way. So to give you an example, we were working with a company in Ireland, and they were looking to, one of the campaigns that we ran for them was about ancestry. Lots of Americans come over to Ireland because of obviously past history, the ancestry side of things. So they set up a group which wasn't branded by them, but it was all about the ancestry of Ireland. And through they ran it, they optimized it and everything else, and ran all the content and helped people ask whenever there was questions that were being asked. And they got lots of people onto that group. So they were engaging, more people were engaging. They were obviously through certain means, not overly selling, but telling them, oh, you could do this on this tour, you can do this, and it all tied in with what they're doing. So I actually find a Facebook business page you need one if you're running ads and everything else, but you actually, personally, I feel you get more engagement through a Facebook group. So I would focus more your efforts on the Facebook group personally. Okay,
thanks for that, because that was actually going to be one of my questions, to talk about the comparison between a Facebook page and a Facebook group in terms of that engagement. So that's really interesting. Thanks for that.
I just wanted to clarify. I'm sorry to interrupt, Adam. I wanted to clarify. So just for the audience, there's no way to advertise for a Facebook group. You can only advertise on a Facebook page. Is that right?
Yes, at this moment in time, and it's something I wish Facebook would sort out. But yeah, you can only advertise to a Facebook group. There used to be a way around it, where you could take your Facebook group link, put it through one of the link shortening sort of services out there, and then you could actually run ads through that way. But what I would say, if you're wanting to grow your group, you could run ads to a landing page on your website that talks about the group, and then get people to join from there and click through from there.
And you have to have also the page in order to connect to Instagram. Yeah. Is that right? Okay.
You need to have a business page anyway, but I just tend to find with engagement on pages, it's few and far between. Plus, you need to ultimately pay to boost your posts on Facebook to have any meaningful content being sort of shared and liked and everything else on it. Facebook want to make money. So a Facebook group is a better way of allowing your customers to see more of your content, because Facebook doesn't allow you to pay for that and boost that on the groups itself. So I would always say go for a Facebook group if you can and run it through that, and spend more of your time on that rather than your Facebook page.
Thank you.
Okay,
Some people
awesome.
may disagree with me, but that's what I would do.
No, that's cool. Well, let's tell you what. Let's give Tom and Olivia the chance to disagree with you. Are you kind of on the same page, guys? Just quickly on that Facebook question before we move on. Do you agree with that?
Sure. Sure. I mean, groups actually, we've had a similar experience with some of our tour and activity operators who work with us. They had their own business page where they would of course share their updates and whatnot, but people weren't necessarily engaging. However, when an escape game, for example, made some sort of like a group around, what are the best escape games in Berlin or something like that, that really kind of got the conversation going, and they opened it up also to their competition, then it really ended up being something of use to people that people actually wanted to join and wanted to start a conversation around. And then that's really when you're getting them at the moment that they're talking about you. And even if it's not about you, it was actually of use to the whole escape game vertical in Berlin, but still they didn't mind kind of sharing around that traffic, because at the end of the day, it's what got people talking about escape games generally and helped benefit them all. So I do agree with that. The one thing, though, that I would also recommend is integrating Facebook as part of your strategy also with your existing customers is quite good, because if you have some sort of like an after sales email, like after having enjoyed this tour, would you please follow us on Facebook, or even incentivizing, for example, the sharing of images of their experience on Facebook and tagging you on Facebook or on Instagram and whatnot is also just very good to keep the conversation alive. So having a dedicated space in your business page for this kind of stuff is also very good, and also engaging with people on your business page. But it shouldn't be, let's say, the be all end all, and like Chris mentioned.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, Tom, anything quickly to add on that, or you do you concur? Sorry, Tom. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just, normal organic posts on your business Facebook page just gets really low engagement these days. So we find that running Facebook ads with targeted audiences that are drilled down to, very specifically, your ads tend to have more engagement then. So you see more engagement on your ads, more social proof on your ads than you do in stream and platform on your Facebook business page. So.
Okay. And just quickly, just before I ask a question about Facebook ads, and just in terms of generating battling the Facebook algorithm, which seems to change every 5 minutes. I always never know whether to put I never know what I'm doing wrong or doing right to get a great audience on a Facebook post, be it in a group or be it on a page. And there's this whole battle about whether you put a link in the comments or whether you put it in your post, and does that affect does Facebook not like that? Does it? I mean, it seems to change every 5 minutes depending on what you read. Really quickly, is there anything we can do about that, or do we just have to pander to Facebook's moods on the day?
Pander to Facebook. They change things every day, pretty much. Even if you're used to using Facebook Business Manager or Ad Account, it changes nearly on a daily basis, and it's a bit of a pain. But yeah, when it comes to Facebook posts, posting video natively, for example, rather than pulling in a YouTube link, putting your links in the first comment is something I still do as well. I tend to find you get a little bit more engagement than you do posting it into the actual post, but that can all change tomorrow. It's just to experiment. That's the best thing you can do. Experiment with different types of content. Yeah, A/B test, see which one works for you, and go from there.
Okay, brilliant. So just staying on Facebook for a minute. So in terms of Facebook ads, going back to that kind of viewpoint of getting started, some classic kind of mistakes that people make with Facebook ads. Are there many? Do you see some regular errors that some of your customers or some other businesses make? And are they easy to fix? I don't mind whoever wants to go on, Olivia.
Sorry, yeah. One of the things that I've noticed is Facebook, of course, they want to make it very easy for you to enter the advertising space. So they'll show you a post that you've recently posted that's had a little bit of engagement, and they'll tell you, you could reach X amount of people by just boosting this post. And of course, they say with just $10, you could reach 5,000 people. And they make it look very attractive. And it is relatively easy, but it needs to have some sort of strategy and intent behind it. And this is what people often overlook. They just say, oh, okay, I want to reach people with this blog post. Yeah, more or less, these are my demographics, go. Without actually thinking, okay, but what's the end goal that I want from boosting this post in particular? Do I want people to sign up to my newsletter? Do I want people to actually book a tour? Do I want people to buy a voucher? All of these different different end actions need to be accompanied by the message that you're trying to boost within that post. So if you're just boosting a random blog post, sure, people will click it and go to your website, but unless your goal is simply website visits, then you need to think a little bit more critically about what it is that you're trying to achieve in Facebook. So for me, that's one of the first kind of easy mistakes. And then people throw up their hands and say, oh no, this isn't working. When in reality, it's just maybe that it required a little bit of more pre-planning. And yes, it's a good way to easily enter, but after that, to maybe think about it a little bit more critically and follow the journey as if you were a customer in that perspective.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. And Chris, when you set up a Facebook ad, what are the key things to make sure that you do to get the best results that you want to get?
Make sure you're targeting the best audience you possibly can. You know, whether that, what a lot of people don't realize is, I'm a big fan of email newsletters, collecting email addresses, names, even from your own customers, that type of thing, because then you can upload all that information into Facebook. Then you can send ads directly to those past customers you've uploaded to Facebook, or ask Facebook to find customers, which is called a lookalike audience, to find customers who are similar to your own customers, to see if there's anyone who's interested in your product as well. You can even add a value of what each of those customers spent on with you. So Facebook will find people, say, okay, they've got a similar income, they've got a better chance of spending that same amount of money, and then go off and find them as well. So the targeting really needs to be key to make sure it works. You know, as Olivia was saying, just boosting a post to 5,000 people. No, who are those 5,000 people? Are they the right audience? Are they the right target demographic? That's what you really need to find out. And there's a free tool that Facebook has called Facebook Insights, Audience Insights, that allows you to see, play about with who's in your area, what their demographics are, what their likes are, their age groups, even people who are connected to your Facebook page if you have over 1,000 followers and so on. So there's so many tools you can use out there to allow you to help you find your audience, Google Analytics as well. But yeah, your audience is key. And just quickly, just one issue that I sometimes see when operators or anyone who runs Facebook ads is they don't give them enough time to run. Because what tends to happen is they'll run them for 3 or 4 days. They go, oh, these ads aren't working, I'm just going to stop them. Facebook is rubbish, I'm never going to go back there again. Whereas actually Facebook takes up to 14 days of learning who your audience is, learning the ads, make sure your cost per click can possibly go down or up depending on what's happening with the ads. So you've got to give Facebook time to learn who it is you're targeting to make it more effective as well.
And just quickly, how much time would you say on average that is, or is it depend?
Up to 14 days. Yeah, we tend to say give it 2 weeks, just to sort of get a better idea of how effective those ads are going to be.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Chris. So just moving on, Olivia, you mentioned earlier Google My Business. Again, if we're just getting started, do we just focus on Google My Business, or must we do Bing Business at the same time? Obviously Google's the more powerful player, but how important is it to make sure that Bing is aligned with Google?
I would say generally it's good to keep a unified profile across all of the different platforms in which you could appear, because any type of platform that has a very good SEO value is going to be a great result to have when people are searching for your business. So no matter what, you should try to fill out as many free profiles as you can. It can't hurt. The only thing is that then you have to also make sure that your own website has a pretty solid SEO. In terms of Bing, to be honest, we don't have much experience with it. Personally, from a B2B perspective, we've tried advertising on Bing before, did not have very much luck. I feel like it might also be a kind of location thing. At least in Germany, it's not particularly working for us. So I would say if you have limited resource, focus on Google. And when focusing especially on Google My Business, you should look at things that increase your credibility, like opening hours, like if you're going to be unavailable at a certain time, make sure that that's also reflected on Google. So make it really your kind of one-stop shop for all of the information of your business, and then try to reflect that across all of the other free platforms that you may be using. Okay,
brilliant. And then Google reviews also pretty key to that whole piece as well.
That's right. Google reviews are, I would say, one of the best places to invest in terms of trying to get reviews from your existing customers. They even have some. It's not so easy. So there isn't. Google doesn't provide you exactly with a link to which they can leave their review. They need a Google profile in order to leave their review. But still, there are these link generators in which you can just ask to please create a Google review link and send that to your existing customers. And honestly, also in terms of Google Maps, these reviews then show up as well. It becomes really quite important. And actually, just on the topic of reviews, collecting them, of course, star ratings are going to be very important, but the content of the reviews as well is going to be very important. Maybe you can find ideas about what content to generate for your blog based on what the most frequent comments are. You can use that also for a social media ad saying, 5 stars, so-and-so gave me this rating with a nice picture behind. I mean, there in itself, you have maybe 3 or 4 ads that you could make without giving it too much thought. And answering to every review is also very important to show that constant engagement and that you're really taking care of your profile.
Okay, brilliant. So in terms of asking for reviews and making sure that content has those words in it in that content, is the trick really just to make sure you're asking the right questions when you're asking your customers to leave a review? You're not just saying kind of tell us what you thought. You're kind of maybe asking a fuller question when you send out.
Sure, absolutely. It can't hurt if there's certain areas that you would really like to highlight. How did you find X, Y, and Z about our business? We would really like to know. Please leave us your review. Absolutely, you can do so.
Okay, brilliant. So just Tom, if we can start talking about Google Ads, again, for kind of a non-digital person, but I guess a little bit like Facebook ads, it could be the scariest place in the world, but actually probably one of the most profitable if you do it right. So how do you get started in the best possible manner?
Yeah. To start, I think, Google Ads works off of intent, right? And it's keyword research. So what keywords do we want to bid on in the Google ad auction? So what keywords are people typing into Google that would have the best opportunity to find you, okay, and serve up that ad? And then second, which keywords have the best commercial value in regards to intent? They have the highest intent of somebody typing that in, getting to your website, getting on your landing page of your website, and then converting. So it's all about conversion at that point. And conversion comes in 2 different forms, really. If you have a website with online booking capability, you've got a booking engine, you're using one of the res tech companies for that, you're going to fire an online booking, and we're going to be able to see that revenue, okay, that booking revenue come right into the platform and come into your Google Analytics and be able to measure that. Second, you may be driving Google ads and somebody clicks one of your ads, they get to your website, then they pick up the phone and call. Especially now, a lot of businesses are getting phone calls because people have questions about operating procedures and, what do I need for checking in? Where do I go? These kinds of things. Well, if you paid for that ad click, you paid $1, $2 for the ad click, they got to your website to pick up the phone and call. Now, if they book over the phone, we want to know that, right? Because if they book, that's revenue that you want to attribute against your ad spend. So starting first thing, you need to define your list of keywords. Okay, what commercial value keywords? And there's several places you can do that. You can go to Keyword Planner. So if you have your Google Ad account set up, you go under Tools, there's something called Keyword Planner. And you can go in there and type in the keyword you're thinking about using, and it'll give you the metrics. It'll tell you how much search volume there is over time by month, okay? Mobile versus desktop. It'll tell you exactly what kind of search volume there is. And then it'll also tell you what the average CPCs are and what the average CPC cost per click would be to get in that first ad position, top of the page, for example. Okay. So Keyword Planner is free. Once you have your Google Ad account, there's no cost. You just go in and you can do your research there. And then there's other platforms like SEMrush that you can go to do competitive research. You can type in any of your competitors' websites, and you can look and see and drill down and see what they're, if they're running ads or not running ads, and also find information about, the keywords that you want to bid on. One of the things you want to look for with keywords with Google Ads is their search volume. If anybody's searching for that keyword that you want to bid on, right? So is it getting 50 average searches per month, or is it getting 5,000 average searches per month? So the keyword volume becomes really important too, because the more volume, the more opportunity, right? in order to get that click, that ad click. So it starts with that keyword research, defining your keywords, and then going in and setting up those search campaigns. The one thing we always say is that all operators mostly should bid on their brand name, so their company name, and fire that ad in the ad auction. The cost per clicks are typically pretty inexpensive for that, but you have competitors that can bid on your brand name. So OTAs, right? Viator, Expedia, they have the ability to bid on your brand name. Now, Google's not necessarily going to fire their ad all that often, but they will fire it on occasion. But others can bid on your brand. There's nothing illegal about it at this point, unless you have it, trademarked with, here in the U.S., that would be the trademark in the patent office to be able to do that. But mostly others can bid on your brand name. So, you're talking about a brand campaign, and then you're talking about search campaigns for your market. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Tom. So, how have you seen the search terms change over this year from kind of what we might have been talking about this time last year? Is it as simple as just adding the word local or near me or around here into the searches, or are there some other trends that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, there's no doubt in search. So local searches, right? Local searches have skyrocketed where somebody's in destination, they're on their mobile phone, and they're typing in food tours near me, right? So the near me addition has skyrocketed over the last couple of years for those search terms, okay? And Google will take that into consideration when you're bidding on, commercial value keywords, the keywords that you set. If somebody's in destination, because Google's very good, they're, artificial intelligence and machine learning, right? Google's really good about knowing where their searcher is when they're typing in that keyword. Are they on mobile? Are they in destination? Are they out of destination? Are they on desktop? What other searches did that person do? Google knows that. Like, they know what other searches you have done in the platform, and they're going to customize your search to that intent, right? So that all comes into play. And the same as Facebook, right? So Chris talked about 14 days of learning on a Facebook ad. The same goes with Google ads. You can't launch an ad today and expect that in 2 to 3 days you're going to have instantaneous results. You'll have click-through. You'll know if bookings are being made, but it's going to take machine learning. Google's also machine learning your ad account, okay, and the audiences that are searching, and they're going to machine learn that over time. It just gets better over time, so you have to give it some time. The key is measurement, performance measurement. How do you measure the performance if it's working, right? So one of the things we always say, and this is really important, if you give $500 to Google in a month for your budget, right? Are you generating $500 in booked tour revenue? Okay, well, you're not going to give $500 to Google to book $500, right? You might as well keep the money. Okay, keep the euros in your pocket, right? But if you're, giving $500 to Google in a month for your ad budget, and that's producing $5,000 in book tour revenue, let's say 10x return, all right, then you're doing really well with Google Ads. And you're going to keep that going, obviously. Okay, and it's completely measurable. That's the beautiful thing about Google Ads is it's very measurable from what you spend to what you get. Okay. And what you get is your tour book revenue from that ad click. And that's all data and metrics that are in the platforms that you can see. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Olivia and Chris, anything quickly before we go on to the questions, just to add to what Tom was saying on Google Ads, or did he pretty much cover everything?
Yeah, I pretty much covered everything. The one thing I would say about Bing ads, which was mentioned, is we tend to find that's only really works well for a US audience. We used it a lot for attracting the US into Ireland, for example, using that sort of same thing as well. Because what tends to happen is especially the older generation, they tend to get a new laptop and they'll just leave what's on there. If it's a PC laptop, it comes with Bing. So that's one of the reasons why it tends to be mostly Americans that use it, because they just don't change it.
Correct. That's absolutely correct. Yeah, Bing works great in the U.S. market for that reason. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We've got just over 10, just under 10 minutes left. I'll go through some questions. Judy says, can anyone recommend a company to hire to outsource marketing? No, we don't know any good companies to outsource your marketing to. I'm joking. Either of these fine people will be delighted to help you. Reach out to them. We'll make sure we share their details. I heard that Google Ads isn't worth it unless you plan to spend $500 plus. True or false?
What was the question then?
I heard that Google Ads isn't worth it unless you plan to spend $500 plus.
I would say yes, that is correct. Yeah. In most cases, our minimum budget that we look at for Google Ads is $1,000 a month. I really don't like to go under $1,000 a month on a budget.
Okay.
Because on your daily budget, on a $500 budget divided by 30 days, your number of clicks you're going to get in any given day, you're going to be out, right? So as soon as Google spends your money, you're not in the ad auction at that point. So yeah.
Fair enough. Thanks. Can you get by without a website if you're maximized on social media? Interesting. I guess this is probably a whole topic in itself, isn't it?
I would say no. To me, a website is one of the first things that travelers will look at or look for. Even if you are on social media, no, I think you need to have a website, even just from an SEO point of view for Google and everything else. Without a website, you've pretty much got no presence online apart from social, which to me is a bad thing.
Okay, cool. That's interesting. So actually, side note, but tune in tomorrow for the virtual tour seminar, and we've got a fantastic London Blue Badge guide who's setting up a subscription service and not using a website, which I'm really interested in. Chris, you helpfully posted a widget link there. Just to clarify for people, that's a widget that you would embed into your website, correct?
Yeah, so it's a widget that pulls in reviews from many different sources to allow you to have a widget that will carousel lots of different reviews from different places. So yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Question from Christine. This is Olivia. Did you just say that there is a way to have a guest leave a Google review without requiring them to create a Google account?
Yeah, so it depends. On Google Maps, that is definitely possible. If people are accessing Google Maps from their phone, for example, and they haven't actually logged into their account, they can still leave a review and associate a different email address to it that doesn't need to be a Google email. However, at least in my experience, whenever we've been sending a link to leave a review on Google, especially from a desktop, if people are opening it from their desktop, it's going to be it's usually going to prompt you to please log in order to leave that review. So that's still something that's a little bit, I think, yeah, it's a little bit of a gateway, but also nowadays, a lot of people have Google accounts.
Okay. Question from, sorry, go on.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Quick question for you, Olivia.
Sure.
How does a platform like Booking Kit help tour operators marketing, digital marketing efforts?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we provide software for bookings, right? So we also provide like a checkout widget, which is embeddable on your website. But that widget is also embeddable actually directly on your Facebook profile. So this is maybe also related to the can I work or sell tours without a website? I mean, technically you can, I guess. Of course, the social proof aspect and the nobody wants to spend money on something that they can't, research before. So I totally am aware of that. But we help our customers by allowing them to be bookable in as many places as possible. So you can embed this booking widget directly on your Facebook profile as part of the main page function. You can also, for example, be bookable on Google Maps with a booking button. The Reserve with Google integration allows you to just search for, food tour, and then something comes up in your area if you're looking for Paris, and you could actually book it directly through Google Maps if function is enabled. So there are many different ways in which, apart from marketing partners like the paid commission models, TripAdvisor, Get Your Guide, etc., centralized on one platform, there's many ways in which we try to drive direct bookings, as well as just providing tips and help on an individualized basis to our customers.
Perfect, thank you.
Question about LinkedIn and Twitter. Is it still important to have a LinkedIn account or a Twitter account? I'm just getting comfortable with Facebook and need to get up to speed on Instagram. Yeah, I get that. There's loads of different platforms, right? LinkedIn and Twitter, are they worth it?
I think I'll take LinkedIn. So LinkedIn can be a great platform just from an organic posting standpoint, depending on your reach. So you set up a business profile in LinkedIn. But if you have team building type, things in your tours, or if you small groups now, like we're not going to talk large groups because of the time we're in, but we're going to talk about, strategically reaching kind of the corporate market, So if you're going to reach the corporate market, where does the corporate market live? A lot of those folks live on LinkedIn, right? So there's an opportunity to reach those folks and generate additional revenue from that, the people in the corporate world. So LinkedIn's great for that. Just a thank you.
Yeah, I have to agree with Tom here. LinkedIn, if you're doing organic posting on LinkedIn, it's proven to be huge, using its sort of post functionality for actually posting up content. The only thing I would say about LinkedIn, just from my experience, is don't waste your money on LinkedIn ads. Far too expensive, and they are very, very ineffective from any tests that we've done personally.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. A question from Scott: is it possible to target people when they're traveling? For example, target people who are within 10 miles of New York City but live outside 50 miles of New York City.
Yeah.
I think
On Facebook, yeah.
I think that's referring to Facebook. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could easily do that on Facebook. In fact, you can even go a step further. Facebook introduced an option where you can target people with traveling intent. So people who are searching on Facebook, looking for things to do, looking for places they would like to go. That's now, you have to change your account to be a travel advertiser to get this option, but there is an option out there you can even click when you're doing your ads for travel intent now. So very much so.
Okay. What would you, sorry for another ignorant question, Chris, but what's the standard account type that you'd have when you set up your Facebook ads account? Do you choose the category that you're going to be? And
yeah, so most people may choose tour operator, travel company, that type of thing. But if you choose travel advertiser, then you'll get this extra option, which was introduced at the start of the year, I think it was. But you'll get this extra option. We're actually doing tests at the moment to see how effective it is, and we're hopefully going to be sharing some of those results soon. So
cool. Thank you very much. Okay, let me just shoot up for another question.
I have a quick one.
Yeah, go on, Von.
Well, not a question, but just something that I want to say to the listeners. So those of you who have kind of tuned into any of my messages or any of the other sessions, you know that I totally would recommend you hire a firm like Chris's or like Tom's and invest there, as opposed to focusing so much on or relying so much on the online travel agencies. There may be some spend up front, right? And it may be a good amount of spend up front, but at least you're not so reliant on all of your bookings on these OTAs and them taking, upwards of 20%, as well as not getting your data from them, right? So yeah, you may pay the money and it may take time, but you'll learn how to do this stuff on your own eventually. And you won't have to rely so much on OTAs, which will save you money in the long term. So I certainly, I can't stress enough how much I recommend, going it alone or using a firm like Chris or Tom's to help get you started and get you going.
Cool. Thank you very much. Listen, we haven't actually got any more time for questions. I've just, Chris has posted a link in there which relates to the travel intent question on Facebook. That's great. Maybe copy that link if you're interested in it. We're shooting over right now to our social for the evening. So I've just posted that link at the bottom. It's the same link that's on your email. Don't, if you missed this, don't worry, it's on your email. Just lastly for me, guys, thank you so much, Olivia, Chris and Tom. That was brilliant, really insightful. Perhaps a little bit more basic than I know something you're used to in your day in, day out, but I think it's really beneficial. And we will absolutely, hopefully have a few more sessions with you guys to kind of get into a bit more detail. But thank you so much. If everyone could go onto the Remo platform for the live chef experience, and hopefully Olivia, Chris and Thomas, you'll join us there as well. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks
Thanks,
so much,
everyone.
y'all. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.